Blockchain Bandits episode 5. You're here with me, Jeff.
Myself, Courtney.
And me, Andy.
And this week we'll be speaking about the Tether Hack. You guys might have heard of that. It was huge in the cryptocurrency space. We'll also be talking about gold and Bitcoin. And will Bitcoin replace gold as the go-to safe haven for investors? We'll also be talking about the different use cases of the blockchain. One of the people in the group, in our chat group, wanted us to speak about more use cases of the blockchain. So we've gone and done some research, and we'll be speaking about that too. And we'll also be talking about one of the barriers for cryptos. Can the blockchain or cryptocurrencies be used for illegal purposes? Are they being used for illegal purposes? What kind of ramifications does this have? And we'll be talking about what are the differences between a token and a coin, because we spoke about this, and this can get quite confusing for a lot of people, especially if you're new. So yeah, let's get stuck in. The Tether Hack. 30 million USDT was stolen. First of all, do you guys want to explain what Tether is to the people at home?
Yeah, I'll get this. Tether's a company behind the dollar peg cryptocurrency, widely used in the market exchange trade. It's claiming that the systems have been hacked for about 30 million of its tokens have been stolen by hackers, and this caused Bitcoin's price to drop from 8.3k to 7.75k back in this was the 21st of November now.
Yeah, so it's like Monday.
Yeah, around
that Monday. Yeah.
But yeah, they did post on the website, and they did say that they've been hacked, and they've said that these tokens will be unusable.
Yeah, they've tagged them so they can trace them, and they won't be able to be moved.
Yeah. So because obviously the USDT from the Tether Treasury had it got sent to an address, and that address has been almost barred. So those tokens are now exempt. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think they seem to have things under control. I think hacks can be a bit crazy, and people can, tend to panic and that's probably what caused the Bitcoin drop. Panic usually makes price drop. But yeah, they seem to have it under control from everything. Obviously, a hack's never a good thing, but it doesn't seem to be going to hell.
Yeah, it seems like these things happen, and it's always about the response. Tether seem to be on the job. They've released, or they're looking to release new builds of their software, Omnicore, and they'll give that out to the community, and they're advising everybody to install it on all platforms relating to Tether, and hopefully that will kind of solve the problems that they had in the first place with the whole hacking situation. But yeah, I always believe it's all dependent on how you deal with the hacking. It happens.
Yeah, it happens. It happens with today's technology anyway. Like PlayStation was hacked not too long ago. All sorts of things we use get hacked all the time.
Yeah.
Our bank accounts. The NHS was actually hacked. One of the hospitals was hacked recently with some ransomware. So
yeah, WannaCry.
Yeah. So basically, ransomware is kind of basically files get locked on a system, and you can only unlock them if you pay a certain amount of money.
They've been using Bitcoin.
They've been using
cryptocurrencies.
They're using cryptocurrencies to get their money. So basically, it's like holding the files for ransom. You can't open these files, and obviously, in the NHS, people's records are a big thing. People's health records, it could mean life or death in some situations. So I think it's key to as much as you might look at the situation and think, oh yeah, look, they're using cryptocurrency to do terrible things, perhaps if they had their system on their own blockchain, like an NHS blockchain, a private blockchain for the NHS, it wouldn't have been able as easily hacked, you know. So just those balance. But yeah, hacks happen, and it's just about the response. And we spoke about Electronium a few weeks ago and how they got hacked. And their response was not as good as Tether's response. Tether seemed to be on the job. They know how to handle themselves. Electronium looked like they were a bit desperate and they were going for help everywhere else, which isn't always a bad thing, but you know, it just didn't look great for them anyway.
Yeah, I'll say one thing about Tether is obviously there's a lot of people using their service, their ICO. It's actually backed by its sister company is Bitfinex.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of conversation that it's actually Bitfinex and Tether causing the inflation of Bitcoin to rise. Obviously, this is a lot of speculation, and obviously with the issue with Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, it's possibilities that people are saying that maybe possibilities that people are playing dirty in the whole Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash duel, trying to get some FUD in there against the Bitcoin side. It's something I think a lot of people should be watching closely.
Yeah, should definitely be aware of it.
Yeah, I think that Tether definitely did do the right thing, saying like pushing out what the name of the unauthorized Bitcoin address, and claiming that to make the ecosystem stronger, they're not going to allow this address to spend USDT, meaning that it's worth nothing, basically. Which is good. But obviously now they have, like, obviously if we understand how Tether works, they have now nearly 31 million in their treasury, like is
that's
what they say, because that's how it works. So what do they do with this 31 million?
Exactly.
Like, I'll be interested to see, but again, like Tether and Bitfinex have been acting really weird lately.
Bitfinex hasn't come out with a statement of the whole thing, so it's a bit shady.
Yeah, very.
There's even more reason to get your money out of exchanges. You know, if you have any money on Bitfinex or anything, you might want to move it to a wallet of some kind. So yeah. But yeah, next up, we're going to be speaking. It's quite a hot topic. I think I wrote a blog post about it, and some people in our chat group might know this, but yeah, we want to speak about whether Bitcoin is going to replace gold as the go-to safe haven. And what I mean by safe haven is when the markets are uncertain, investors like to put their money in assets that they perceive to be certain, like land or precious metals like gold. Gold is seen as a safe haven because it's a finite asset. It's of a limited amount, and it's in quite high demand, and so they see it as something that they can safely put their money in, because at the end of the day that it's not going to lose value harshly or anytime soon, no matter what. And they know that other investors are looking at it as a safe haven. So if there is a moment of uncertainty, go to gold, because that will go up and your investment will be somewhat secure. Now, the reason why people are looking at Bitcoin as a possible safe haven, or something that could take that spot as a safe haven, is because Bitcoin is also of a limited amount, and people are looking at it in that same way, that if we put our money in Bitcoin, eventually the price is going to keep going up, because Bitcoin, there's only a limited amount of Bitcoin you can mine, and so it's just going to become worth more the more Bitcoin is mined, or the more Bitcoin is owned by people. So so what do you guys think about this? Do you think Bitcoin might take the top spot? Or
I think in terms of Bitcoin, my first assumption would be that Bitcoin is the new age gold, in a sense. It's almost like a metaphor for that, and I think there's definitely the potential. What I'm not so inclined in believing is that it will be anytime soon that it will replace gold. I think that whilst investors are going to look at Bitcoin, and I think the market perception of Bitcoin is still a bit here and there. And again, that's a short-term kind of response. I think in the long term, when people can look at an analysis of Bitcoin for a very long time and say, you know what, we're sure that Bitcoin is going to work in this way, or people perceive Bitcoin in this way, I think that's when you'll get that confidence within the community, with investors, to actually, see Bitcoin as a gold.
Yeah.
That being said, definitely potential for it. Bitcoin, again, once it hits, all the Bitcoin has been mined and it hits that cap, then I think you're going to start to see the laws of supply and demand working it way more. Right now, I still feel like the market's a bit volatile.
Yeah.
And it changes all the time.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's my kind of general opinion on it.
Yeah, I agree. Bitcoin is quite volatile at the moment. It's, for me personally, I don't see it as a safe haven yet, and I don't really see it knocking gold off the top spot. I think they could both be different types of stores of value or safe havens, but the reason I think that gold is going to stay where it is because apart from it being just a finite amount, it has a lot of uses in a lot of things that we do every day, things that we use every day, so that kind of adds to the value of it.
Intrinsic value.
Exactly, yeah. Intrinsic value. So like in computers, certain circuitries have bits of gold in them because gold is such a good conductor. They use gold for certain parts of the circuit that they need information to pass through very quickly. Obviously, you use it in dentistry. You see people with gold teeth, jewelry, obviously. Also in spacecraft as well, in aerospace, and that the astronauts are protected from infrared rays with gold as well. So, so gold has so many other uses, whereas Bitcoin is just supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, and it's just used for sending money back and forth. So that's why I think eventually Bitcoin will get up there, but I don't see gold disappearing anytime soon.
Yeah, I like that. I don't know on that. Like it's true. Gold's key difference with Bitcoin is its whole intrinsic value. So it does make it valuable in the sense that it's used in other things, whereas Bitcoin nowadays is just seen as a way to transfer money, and I guess it's seen as like a storage of cash. However, it could be said that Bitcoin is much easier to divide than gold. We have Satoshis, whereas like melting and cutting bars of gold is a bit more awkward.
That's true.
Obviously, Bitcoin's a lot more portable. You have to carry gold like in safes, and you have to have security. Whereas with Bitcoin, it's virtual, so you can store it on your nice hard drive. By the way, guys, there's a Black Friday sale on Ledger.
Oh yeah, there's a Ledger. Yeah. So yeah, we'll leave a link below, guys, so you can get to that. But just what you said about the storage, it can be argued that it's actually much more trickier to store Bitcoin because of the whole, think about it, for the everyday man. You can either just pay some sort of vault or something to store your gold.
Sort of bank,
like a bank, or you can or you have to go through this whole process of making a private key, getting it onto your computer. Like we always use the example of a grandma. Like I know it would be a lot easier for my grandma to use a bank or some other sort of storage thing rather than create a software wallet or something.
Yeah, I'd say that falls back onto the whole ideas of barriers to entry, and also in terms of the whole Bitcoin thing, I think it's just that time, that the idea of time. I think over a period of time, as the technology develops a bit more, transaction speeds are still a bit bad with Bitcoin. As that all gets developed and improves, we'll see an increase in wealth in terms of Bitcoin. I think you would see inflation, in fact, of its currency, and it will go up in price. And I think for that reason, it's a kind of a volatile nature. But for that reason, it can actually not obviously overtake gold, but I think it can become quite a useful investment. Whereas gold is quite stagnant in its nature. You're not going to expect it to go up in price a lot or down in price a lot unless somebody somehow gets rid of a lot of gold out of nowhere. But in terms of Bitcoin, I think there is that potential that you can put money into it and you're going to get a big reward, and you're going to be confident of that to a certain degree over time. Again, everything I believe in terms of Bitcoin is going to be over time. I don't think it's something you can look at short term and say today it's equal to gold or anything else.
Yeah. Well, it's true, like what you just said. In terms of currency, it's better, fact.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, you can't go into a shop and say, "Oh, I'll buy this TV for quarter of a gold bar," because the guy would just look at you and be like, "That's really nice, but I can't take that."
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, like you can buy stuff with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like facts, like that is true. Like, and also back to what we were talking about, storage and security. Like, you do have to pay fees to a bank to store your gold, and I mean some like you can't really store it at home because obviously there's a chance that people might take it. It could get robbed. I think it's actually illegal in some countries to store your own gold. But yeah, like with Bitcoin, it is kind of like, as long as you're not going on any crazy websites and you have your antivirus and you're doing everything it says in protection guides, you can store your Bitcoin however much. You won't need a lot of space, you won't need a massive vault necessarily, you just need to put it in your wallet as a paper wallet if you want to. In terms of like, obviously the creation of Bitcoin is made by like software and computers and mining, whereas gold is a natural resource from around the planet. So there is a kind of a constant but small supply of Bitcoin. Whereas they're like the supply of precious metals is sporadic. Like it's kind of, they find ores in the Earth's surface.
That's and then one similarity in terms of the way they're mined is that they both do quite a lot of damage to the environment. If you think about it, the gold mining does a lot of damage to the environment because you're literally digging it up and ruining habitats and things. And then obviously Bitcoin mining is because of the amount of heat it generates and the amount of electricity it uses as well. So they both got their own issues, but I still think they could be good source of value.
Yeah, I think finally you just have the whole old issue of perception, right? A lot of older people might see gold as the way to go forevermore, and they won't change their mind. They might be quite ignorant in that manner. Whereas the new age, I coin it as the new age. They might see Bitcoin being the way to go, because they don't see the same value in gold in the same way that their parents or older generations did.
Yeah, I think it should be taken into account that obviously if you want to be able to buy and sell gold, like say if there was an apocalypse, I guess you need a gold merchant, or you just need to change the trade to get gold, bulk gold bar. But if there's no internet, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, but to be fair, if there was an apocalypse and someone offered me a gold bar, I'd be like, what the hell am I doing with this? I'd rather take like a carrot or something.
Some
something
food,
I could eat, something I could use.
Go back to the basics of services and goods.
Barter and that. So
one thing we did forget is in terms of gold and Bitcoin, there is much better tracking for Bitcoin than gold. Much better. I think
a lot of people lie about their gold reserves.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say.
With the price of gold.
100%. Like yeah, there is a big problem with gold. There's more gold being traded than it's actually assumed to actually be in stores. So it comes to a point where, like, say if a lot of people who had claim to that same gold bar said, "Oh, I want my gold bar back," what would happen? Like, the bank would say, "Oh, like, we don't have enough."
Yeah.
So and they've just been scammed, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it. I think tracking is. I think the main reason why people use Bitcoin. Like, because it's compared to fiat as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they want to know that this what I have holds value and is valuable. Like, whereas they don't want the idea that their money is being lent to other people and another person after that, and it's just being recloned. They can actually track their money and where it's come from if it's from a valuable resource.
Yeah, a big thing that comes under that umbrella is trust.
Yeah.
And that's basically the whole thing behind the blockchain technology, and obviously Bitcoin, which was the first successful use case of the of blockchain technology. So yeah, it's trust, eliminating the need for trust, because it's all there for you to see, so you don't have to trust a third party. Yeah, so yeah, that's the differences between that's basically what I believe anyway, in terms of whether Bitcoin will take over gold. Bitcoin is great, like it's revolutionized so much, but in terms of what it's gonna change and whether it will become a take the top spot, I don't think it will. Like I said before, it'll just be there with gold and other precious metals, and there's all sorts of different investments as well. You know, land and property.
Yeah.
You know, just there's just so many options.
I personally see it being one, basically another thing added to be a thing of value. So obviously, back in the days, gold was seen as one of the first most like precious things or store of value, and then came property like land. Well, to be fair, land was always there as well, and business, and nowadays I think that, like, in this new age, like in terms of tech, Bitcoin is now one of them. I think it's not one or the other. It's why not both? Why not more?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it just allows you to put your eggs in different baskets, in that sense. So instead of just having this one long term, like, because gold is one of the safe havens that are is relatively easily acquired. You can buy gold from like bullion and other ways, like gold by post and places like that, or you could just buy jewelry. You can just acquire gold a lot easier and have it as a safe haven in that way. But Bitcoin can be bought, you know, relatively just as easily. Whereas like something like land takes a lot more capital and other investments as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's again, for me, it's just about time. I think if you look at this, or we most likely won't be around, but hundreds of years in the future, you might find that Bitcoin is the predominant kind of main source of investment. Everything's going to be about something like Bitcoin or something on a blockchain. You know, especially as we are dealing with everything now on the internet, everything's moving towards that. All our transactions are being done on the internet, and you know, I think there's so much wealth that can be created from that.
Exactly, and that kind of brings us to the next thing we want to talk about, which was like the blockchain use cases. Like, there's so many valuable use cases for the blockchain, and so one of them, well, basically I found a resource that kind of broke it down as it stands, the blockchain, what kind of use cases it has. So it comes under these following umbrellas. So you got currencies, so like Bitcoin, NEM, like cryptocurrencies that, like, blockchain uses that are just used as cryptocurrencies. Then we've got developer tools, so we've got things like Ethereum. Developer tools are things that developers can use to build
Decentralized apps.
Yeah, decentralized apps. So we've got Stratis, EOS, you know, Ethereum Classic, Neo, things like that. And then you got fintech, so that's just financial tech, things like insurance, blockchains for insurance companies and things like that. I've kind of spoken about that briefly in the past. Sovereignty. So those are like things that like identity verification sort of uses. Things that can basically keep your identity under your control and but at the same time verify it for someone else.
So web wallets as well.
Yeah, and web wallets as well. Those sorts of things, and security as well. Security services. Value exchange. So that's not so much. That's not the same as currency. That's more to do with like within a certain platform. A way to exchange value within that. It's something we'll cover a bit later on as well. Shared data. So things like IOTA, you share a lot of data because it connects loads of machines and they use data to interact with each other. Things like Ink and Bloom, which is something that's been seen around a lot. Authenticity, which is a big one because the blockchain, like we said earlier on, removes the need for trust. So you need it basically allows you to authenticate certain things, which is one use case, the use case I'm going to focus on today. And then you've got like just miscellaneous ones like gaming and things like that, gaming coins and other things like that. But yeah, the one I want to speak about today, which because I think you guys could appreciate it, is authenticity. So the blockchain, it's a decentralized ledger, as we all know, and it allows it basically nullifies the need for trust because you don't need to trust it. The blockchain has everything out there on the table for you to see. So we have a problem these days with a lot of forgeries, fake tickets. When you go to buy a ticket for online, you might be buying a fake one. That wouldn't happen on the blockchain. You'd have some sort of, for example, some sort of key or code on a ticket, and once you scan it, maybe it cross-references it with something on the blockchain, and then it comes up on the system that, oh yeah, this is an authentic ticket, and it can't be cloned and it can't be changed, and so you can 100% guarantee on that. It can stop a lot of other types of fraud, like financial fraud. Loads of those, also, like this goes wider into the wider world and the implications and uses. Like authenticity comes in basically every business. You need to authenticate at least one thing. So yeah, that's kind of the use case I wanted to talk about. What about you guys?
For me, the most important things about blockchain and how it can be used is decentralization, the transparency of our transactions, of communication between one party to the next. We always go toward a third party, and rely on that third party to not rip us off, not cheat us, not lie to us. So that transparency is very key. Believe it or not, I'm also going to highlight that it's paving the way for future technology. So that is a use case in its own right. I like to talk about this all the time, but IOTA and everything IOTA is going to bring to the table. The Internet of Things, everything's moving in that technological kind of advancement where everything around us is going to be connected and linked, and having blockchain technology at the foundation of it all is really key, even if it's an adaptation of what we actually see the blockchain technology today. And I think so we have Ethereum, and all the different possible smart contracts and everything else that you can set up using something like Ethereum, and I think it's in its infancy. Blockchain technology still, it's quite and it is relatively new. So we are still in a period where we're going to see much more use cases, much more different and unique ways of recording transactions, and because I think it is it's gonna be really good financially, to take away that middleman and to communicate peer to peer. But we're gonna see loads of different a change in scope, I would say, in terms of the way that we purchase goods, the way we communicate between one device to the next device, and it's all gonna be based on blockchain technology.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to say like how the growth of blockchain we can thank through to because of smart contracts really. Obviously Bitcoin and blockchain pushed the movement, and the introduction of smart contracts has made there be a lot of use cases for applications for blockchain. Like obviously the way we use, change and send, record data is changing within the internet, and this data might be maybe a transaction or just confirmation of delivery's been sent, or maybe a service. It could be anything. Data is a very like wide term, umbrella term, but as long as there's a relationship and a trade of data, we can now do that without the need of a third party or middleman. That's a beauty, and people are seeing that. Well, a lot of businesses are seeing that. Businesses saw it first, that we can save a lot of money here. I think that's key. Like it is changing the way people do business everywhere, and it's making a lot of people's lives a lot easier in terms of trust.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of technology, just to make people's lives easier, to make things more fluid. And if blockchain's addressing that, it's only a good thing, and it only shows that it's going to grow. So it's just there's so many use cases, like you said earlier. Another one that's I wanted to speak about was like you was mentioning data storage, in terms like cloud storage. For example, if you are saving things on Dropbox, it's being held on the Dropbox server. Dropbox can do whatever they want with your information. You can't store anything sensitive on there because they have access to it, or anyone who hacks Dropbox has access to it. Whereas with the blockchain, what certain use cases are doing is that your data gets stored on something called a swarm. So it breaks your data into loads of thousands and thousands of little pieces and spreads it between all the nodes in the network. So all the computers in the network, each have a tiny little piece of it. Not one of them can put them together. Only you with your private key. So when you put in your private key, all the data comes together and makes that big picture. Like say for example, it's just a selfie or something. So and think of it as it gets broken down into a puzzle. And all the pixels get spread apart in different nodes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so basically, it all comes together back onto your computer, and you can see your lovely smiling selfie back again on your PC, and yeah, without worry that it's gonna get hacked by anyone or anything like that. So,
That's interesting.
Yeah, one less worry on your mind. And if you're that handsome or beautiful that someone wants to hack your selfie, then that's just you got a pretty good life. So yeah. Next topic we wanted to speak about was are cryptocurrencies being used for illegal purposes? This is one of the things that you might read about in the news. It's one of the arguments against blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies, one of the biggest ones. Personally, I had a debate with a guy on the tube, and one of his debates against cryptocurrencies, bear in mind this guy didn't know what blockchain technology is. One of his debates was...
You should listen to the podcast.
Yeah, you should listen to the podcast. I should have told him about it, but yeah, no. He basically was saying, yeah, well then, they're paying hitmen to kill people with cryptocurrencies, blah blah. And I was like, well, I don't know that. I don't know that for a fact, but I know for a fact that hitmen were getting paid with fiat currency as well. Loads of people getting paid with fiat currency to do all sorts of terrible things. So, and it's untraceable, so it doesn't really make a difference in my eyes. And I think a lot of that is just based on FUD, which is something we've highlighted before. But FUD essentially is just fear and distrust. Yeah, exactly. And so basically, I wouldn't read too much into it. If I personally myself, I don't read too much into all that stuff, because despite all that news, cryptocurrency are still growing every day. It's not something that weighs heavy on my mind. I don't think it's something that could hold back cryptocurrencies that much, but I could be wrong. You never know. Fear is a strong emotion, and if you instill that in enough people, it can do a lot of damage. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I'd say, well, I think the biggest issue most likely we'll have is the idea of a authority or something governing, cryptocurrencies, and ensuring that nothing illegal is being conducted. Now, I'm not in a position to say whether or not that should be the case, or there should be a kind of a central pillar of authority in terms of what's going on in the cryptocurrency world. But potentially that is a bit of the fear, or where the fear is generated from. You have, well, I've heard people talk about potentially setting up ICOs and trying to do people out their money by just promoting something that's really, really good and too good to be true. People put all their money into it and then they disappear. That's one element of it as well. But I think it's all relative, if I'm honest with you. There's not one thing in life that it just happens in one place and not the other. Yeah. People like to point the finger a lot, but sometimes they don't point at themselves or point at anything else, and it's easy to blame, the blame game. And what I mean by this is, yeah, as you're saying, it happens in fiat money. People do illegal stuff all the time with fiat money. What's the difference in a sense? It will happen everywhere where somebody sees an opportunity, and it's whether or not people are willing to take that opportunity. But then there are elements of safeguard with cryptocurrencies. The fact that everything happens on a blockchain, for instance, and you can see those transactions occurring. So you've got ways of mitigating against it. And just as much as anything, if something's too good to be true, maybe it is.
Yeah, I completely agree. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, in terms of the question, are cryptos being used for illegal purposes? Yeah, but of course, but so is everything else. So is fiat money, as you guys have said. Yeah. There are cryptocurrencies that make it easier to purchase illegal goods. So I know Monero is very well used in the darknet for buying drugs. It's got a big market there. Bitcoin used to be that currency. However, again, if the guy who actually did his research on the tube understood what blockchain is and understood Bitcoin, he would know that you were you can track exactly. Monero not so much, but they are all still trackable if those tracking you try hard enough.
Yeah, and I think there's one thing if you're sending Bitcoin from a certain area and you're using a certain wallet or a certain service, a certain exchange, your IP address is going to be somewhere there. But with Monero, you're able to hide your IP address. Yes, so that's where the issue is with Monero, but not so much with Bitcoin. Yeah.
I'd say obviously there are people who are saying what if it's being used for what if people are buying child porn, for example, with Monero? Well, first thing I'd say is, okay, well, don't attack so much the currency itself. Maybe attack the websites.
Yeah.
Maybe attack the people. Okay, if they're using it as a store of value, and I'm not saying they are, because people are using it for paper money, which is probably more valuable anyway. for these reasons, but you don't see him attacking the government money. You don't see him attacking gold bars or any form of value.
No one's going to the Bank of England going, oh, look what they're doing with those notes.
Exactly. So what this comes down to really is control, and it's again controversial, but it's media and banks trying to control people who are not in the crypto space, saying, oh, cryptos are just full of criminals and terrorists. And everyone in this community knows that's not the case. A lot of people in the community see cryptocurrencies as a way of trading value, like a new way of currency. The technology behind it's amazing, and they truly believe in it. And you have certain people in media saying, "Oh, it's just full of criminals, just changing money." To those people, I say, okay, well, I mean, do your research, read up, actually see see the movement, and see like what this technology is about before they start painting a brush and like giving their opinions, ignorant opinions, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, I've spoken to a lot of people in the cryptocurrency space, and I don't think I've spoken to any terrorists or hitmen that I know of, anyway. But yeah, it's just like I said before, it's just FUD, fear being spread around, disinformation or misinformation, and like I said to the guy on the tube, I was like, I was trying to explain to him that it was the underlying technology behind these cryptocurrencies that gives them value, and he was just like, oh, it's not about the technology, and I was like, well, you know, and he's like, oh, you know, I can't just go and invest into something, you know, I don't know about, and I was like, yeah, of course, just go and do some research, you know, have a look for yourself. I'm not telling you to invest. I don't benefit if you invest or not. I'm just saying, like, before you you know, speak up about something, maybe have a look at it, you know, do some research. He might do some research and still decide, you know what, it's not for him, but at least he has an informed decision. And we encourage you guys as well, not just to take our word, because like we always say, we're not financial advisors, we're not super experts, we're not like gods. We just do our research, and we encourage you guys to do your research as well. So yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think if you don't do your research and you sit there worrying about whether or not there's illegal activity going on, you'll find that you're just a victim of it, not actually, you know, aware of it.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the scary thing.
That's true, especially if cryptocurrencies, like when they take wider adoption, and you have done no research, and all you have to go on is a news report, or you know, just what Billy from the pub said, you're gonna be lost when it comes to dealing with it yourself. And we kind of find this situation anyway with finance and economics. A lot of people don't know what's going on. They don't know a lot about taxes. They don't know about mortgages and things like that. So when they get involved in it, they get taken advantage of. So yeah, to put yourself in the best position, you know, get educated about these things.
Yeah. Last point I'd like to give is, if you do hear stuff on the news saying that, well, in terms of Bitcoin, like Bitcoin's a scam, or anything related, if anything in the news say someone's giving an opinion, go online. If it truly interests you, go online and look for yourself and research it yourself, and look at different points of view. You'll see in general as a person, you will find yourself learning a lot of things, and it's especially in politics. If you don't, if you listen to an opinion and you strongly agree with it or strongly disagree with it, just try to take in another point of view, and maybe read about it. You might find a new insight. And also, if you find someone who disagrees with you in the future, you'll be able to give a correct response on why you disagree instead of the guy on the tube.
Exactly. You could like with us with our gold versus Bitcoin discussion, we could have easily been like, oh, Bitcoin is definitely going to take up because we love blockchain technology, and we could be, and this is obviously a cryptocurrency / blockchain podcast, but we went up there, we did our research, and you know what, we came back with a balanced view. Well, I hope it came across as balanced, because that's what we were trying to aim for. But what I'm trying to say is that, you know, go out there, get a balanced point of view. Like, we have a blockchain podcast. If there's some sort of anti-blockchain podcast, maybe give that a listen as well. So yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. So yeah, moving on. What is a token and what is a coin? What are the differences between a coin and a token when it comes to cryptocurrencies? This is kind of an issue. I don't think, if I was to, like, have a think about it, do you know the difference between them right now? It's kind of confusing. There's a lot of misinformations and the lines get blurred a few times as well. Andy, do you want to go.
Yeah. Firstly, like, it's important to note that all the coins and tokens are regarded as cryptocurrencies, even if most of the coins do not function as a currency or medium of exchange. Overall, the term cryptocurrency is a bit of a misname, and it does throw people off because they're kind of like, oh well, it's a currency. Exactly. But since currencies are technically represented as a unit of account or a store of value and a medium of exchange, but the problem is, the other coins conceived after Bitcoin are generally considered as a cryptocurrency. It's a name given to them, though most do not fulfill the main characteristic of actual currency. So overall, in terms of like coins and tokens, let's talk about altcoins anyway. Like, the commonality of all altcoins is that they each possess their own independent blockchain. So that's, for example, your Litecoin, Peercoin, Dogecoin, Monero, Dash. Well, no, that's off. Dash is of Bitcoin, yeah. So that's that is an altcoin. That's an altcoin. Yeah. However, tokens are a representation of a particular asset or utility that usually reside on top of another blockchain. Tokens can represent basically any asset or fungible and tradable or like, so basically like loyalty points almost to other cryptocurrencies. So basically, a good example I usually think of myself, and I think you guys too, is we look at Ethereum and how they use decentralized apps, and there's a lot of tokens, like for example EOS, that uses Ethereum, so it uses their blockchain to create the token. So I think the main difference between the two is that altcoin, like, they all both have similar structure, but altcoins are separate currencies with their own blockchain, while tokens operate on top of a blockchain that facilitates the creation of decentralized applications.
Okay. Yeah, so tokens are, like you said, tokens are on top of a different blockchain. They borrow someone else's blockchain, and they're usually used within their own platform and rarely outside that. And coins are basically have their own blockchains and can be used to exchange goods outside of their platforms. So even though they all hold value and they all come under the umbrella of cryptocurrency, even though they're not all currencies per se.
And wouldn't we suggest that when we talk about the terminology of cryptocurrency, we think of the coin more than the token?
I suppose so. I think more of a coin in general, and that's where, like I was saying, people blur the lines. People get confused. Like, they don't really look at like, they just automatically assume a token's a coin because of the whole the way that we look at the cryptocurrency space. Yeah. So that's, you guys need to be careful with that.
I think there's something to take into account. Let's say this might make it easier for people to understand. And this isn't necessarily completely 100% true in all sense, but say if Ethereum suffered from a hack, or there were issues with Ethereum blockchain, all some of the tokens on the Ethereum network might have problems, and they'll be affected, and they might drop in value. That's just an example. Again, what are coins and what are altcoins? Well, a coin is Bitcoin. Altcoins are basically other coins other than Bitcoin. But overall, they're all cryptocurrencies, and ICOs tend to be tokens. So they're based on another blockchain.
And I think that happens because a lot of ICOs are just jumping onto the blockchain wave, and it's a lot quicker to just piggyback on someone else's blockchain. So if you're an ICO or you want to launch an ICO, it'll just be a lot easier if you want to make as much money as quickly as you can to create something on Ethereum, for example, and dish it out and sell that token, make a bunch of Ethereum, and maybe exchange that for fiat, and then get loads of money.
Yeah,
that's what tends to happen a lot of the time. But yeah, I hope that was clear, because I know it can be very confusing. Just to clear out one more time, tokens and coins are all cryptocurrencies, although all cryptocurrencies are not necessarily currencies. Coins stand on their own blockchains, and tokens borrow other blockchains or are built on top of other blockchains. Yeah. And yeah, is that everything we had to cover this week?
That's basically all our topics.
We did that quick this week.
It felt quick.
Yeah. But how many minutes?
50
right. Maybe it wasn't that quick. Yeah, but yeah, that's it. I hope you guys learned something today from what we spoke about. Keep an eye out for we'll keep an eye out for news on the Tether hack, and probably come back to you next week about that. So yeah, we spoke about gold and Bitcoin, which one's going to be the top spot as a storage of value, long-term safe haven, and we spoke about the differences between a token and a coin, and different use cases of the blockchain. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, please leave us a like on SoundCloud, Castbox, YouTube, wherever you're listening to this. Comment if you have any feedback. If you disagreed with anything we said, leave a comment, because we love to have discussions, especially with you blockchain haters. Mm-hmm. And subscribe as well if you enjoyed it. Yeah, we'll leave a link for the Ledger hardware wallet if you guys want to grab that. They're doing a Black Friday deal at the moment. If you're interested in buying cryptocurrencies as well, we'll leave some links below for where you can do that. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Right, see you later, guys. Take it easy.
See you guys next week.